Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be talking about my experience at CAMHS. Now for all of you that don't know, perhaps you don't live within the UK, CAMHS is the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Service that we have here. It's a free service for children and adolescents that deal with different mental health issues, and you can get medication and therapy and like a psychiatric assessment through them, and it's free. And the reason I'm making this video today is because, as always, when I'm looking through YouTube and through sort of the mental health bubble that is within YouTube, I've seen lots of videos, people talking about their experience with CAMHS, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of them seem to be quite negative. And in the comments below, I see a lot of people saying, you know, oh, I'm so worried about going to CAMHS now. And I just thought I would give my slightly more positive sort of experience there, mainly because I think it's always worth giving something a go, especially if it's free. You know, before I was at CAMHS, I was seeing a counsellor, and that was £50 for an hour, and it just, I mean, it was ridiculously overpriced for what it was, and that didn't really work out very well. Perhaps in the future, if any of you are interested, I'll make a video on how my counselling went. Yeah, so today I just thought I would quickly share with you my experience and perhaps some tips for if you do decide to go to CAMHS. Now, before I start, I do want to make it 100% clear that I am not endorsing CAMHS. I'm not saying that, you know, everyone should go to CAMHS just willy-nilly not to consider it. I'm merely just saying what happened to me and how effective I found the service. So let's not jump on the you're pro CAMHS and they were horrible to me, you're giving the wrong impression bandwagon, because it's literally just my personal experience. Okay, so how did I first get to CAMHS? I was referred to CAMHS by my doctor. They did a written referral, and at the same time my doctor also told me that the waiting list is very long. This is very true. So I also got my school, who was more than aware of the fact that I'd gone from having 100% attendance to 0% attendance, and came in school every day having a panic attack and in a flood of tears and being physically ill. And so they basically just wrote a letter as well, along with the doctor's referral, to say she needs a lot of help. At the time I was in my GCSE year as well, and yeah, basically the school said, we need her in school, we need you to sort of get her on the waiting list ASAP. Now, even after I had my assessment, because at first they'll always assess you to see whether you're able to get the service for free, I was still on quite a long waiting list. And so the first tip I would say is to really chase up your appointment. Now, really the only negative thing I can say about CAMHS is that it's not particularly well organised, or at least the CAMHS that I went to, like my branch, wasn't. The sort of admin side of it seemed to be really lagging, and even sort of as my time at CAMHS progressed, every time there was a different referral or a sort of any communication between my doctor and CAMHS, sort of the dates on the referrals that then were CC'd by me were really lagging. My doctor was sort of always a bit out of the loop, you could say, because CAMHS seem to just be so overwhelmed. They're quite understaffed for the amount of people that they help, so that is part of the reason. It's not just a whole bunch of like layabouts, you know, there's just a lack of funding and a lack of staff, so just keep that in mind. But you do really need to chase up your referral. I know it can seem a little bit embarrassing to keep like calling them up and pestering, you know, oh, I need my referral now, I need my referral now, but you know, you have to keep at them, make sure that your referral has gone through, make sure that it's going through the appropriate channels, and chase it up and make it clear that, you know, you're in real dire need. If you're not, then obviously don't lie about it, because there are people who really are in really bad situations. But if you can't leave the house, if you can't go to school, then you need to really make it clear that until you see CAMHS, you are trapped inside your own house, and just make sure that they are 100% aware of how severe your situation is. Now, when it came to my actual therapy sessions with my therapist, I'm going to be completely honest, at first I did not like my therapist. They were a perfectly nice person, and obviously I'm not going to sort of give names or anything like that, because for privacy concerns and whatnot, but they were a very nice person, but they were incredibly spiritual, and at the time I was not a particularly spiritual person. I've now sort of embraced that kind of side of life slightly more as a method of dealing with my anxiety, but at the time they were very spiritual and I was in a very bad place, and so some of the things that they said to me, I'm saying they, I only had one therapist, I just don't want to give away any like gender whatnot, but yeah, they would say things to me and I would come out of the sessions crying and telling my mum, like, they once said to me, you know, I will pray for you, I will send you my light, and we spent a whole session talking about how a marble was an earth or something, I don't know, and I felt like it was a waste of time, and I was saying to my mum, like, I don't know what they're talking about, like, you know, I hate this. I was hoping to get like something really solid and something that I could work with, so all I would say is stick with it for a while, because after about the first month, sort of my weekly sessions with them, they were sort of, it was kind of setting the scene. So they were introducing me to spirituality and sort of that method of dealing with anxiety, and then we use that to incorporate other different methods. And like I said, at first I really didn't feel like we were getting anywhere, but after about a month or so I really did start to see a big difference. Like, they taught me about positive thinking, about having a truth. They're all things that I'll be talking about in videos in the future, and I just found it really, really beneficial. And so overall I would just say that my therapy sessions went really, really well. I also, through CAMHS, was put on medication. Again, in the future I might make a video about medication and my experience and the different kinds that I have been on, but it got to the point where I'd done all I could dealing with my triggered anxiety, but my generalised anxiety really was just a chemical imbalance in my brain, and so my therapist referred me to the doctor at CAMHS, and that all got sorted out. Again, there was quite a lot of lag in the admin and in waiting for my appointments, and there was also some times where my therapist was late for the appointments by quite a significant amount of time, and when you're anxious and you're sitting in a waiting room, you know, that wasn't ideal for me. Looking back, it wasn't really that much of a big deal, but at the time, when you're feeling anxious and you're surrounded by a lot of other anxious people, it's not that great. The last thing I want to say is that after I sort of left my therapist, they did leave an open invitation to come back at any time, which was greatly appreciated and was something that I did take them up on. I went through sort of a slight blip and relapse with my anxiety for some personal things that were happening at home, and so I did go back to them and we talked through those things and had a little check-in, and even though I'm now officially terminated with them, I am still in contact with CAMHS, and I do still get the support from them if I ever need it, which I think is really helpful. That is it for me for today. I hope that some of you found this useful. Again, I'm not trying to push you towards CAMHS. You need to do what's best for you. It depends on the particular branch of CAMHS that you go to, but it is free, and I do think from my experience that it is a really great service, and if you don't like the therapist that you see, you can always contact CAMHS and talk about that and see if you can try a different therapist, and I would just say go in with an open mind, because like I said, there are a lot of things that were talked about initially that I'd never really considered or that weren't part of my beliefs. Not that they converted me in like a creepy cult way or anything like that, it was more just they opened my eyes to other ways that I could try and deal with my anxiety that I found really effective. So I will link to CAMHS below, and I'll perhaps search the internet and see if I can find any other kind of opinions and anything that you guys might want to read about CAMHS and whatnot. And yeah, I hope that you found this video useful. Bye!